We do background check on them. We do profiling on them. We actually train them on two things, theory part and the physical part. Theory part for them to know how to work with people, human relations, and also when it comes to the physical part, how to defend themselves in terms of a robbery or an attack. So long story short, basically those are the two things that the company provides.
For more information, call 0302 522 503 or 0264 363 125. You can also visit www.globalskyafrica.com. Global Sky, someone is always watching.
We are 8 people in the room. There is no job, that's why I'm doing this.
I'm going to stop the schooling because my father is not alive again.
Jewels of the streets, you are my jewels indeed. I saw your raw state and I see you today and I'm amazed. This is called determination.
Empowering the girl child is my thing. Be inspired. My name is Agyeiwaa and I am famous Agyeiwaa. I'm a national organizer of the MPP. The science also the board chair for the YE. Keep watching and be inspired. Once again, empowering the girl child is my thing. It should be working. Thank you.
Moi je suis béni, Satan, voilà bas, tu comprends? Hein? Satan, tu comprends? Ah ouais, d'accord.
This is my season, and she is steady, I don't get Agyeiwaa. Now it's my turn, this is my season, and she is steady, I don't get Agyeiwaa. Obey who you're very, not just a Nakana, and not any other, and she running.
She running through me so yeah my shiro you want me meta na you do you want to deni na di pano eti sama do you want na ma fano sama deni na me ni buko to kwata ya pai she running through me so yeah me na me ko obusamti me na me waso ate se won chasia me na me waso yeah, I did go so shamio. If she run and through me, so she will take.
You my pal on breaker, still on breaker. Yeah, I'm doing right. What do you want to not do me? It's on the Mayan she rub you. Kai, the Mayan she wrote it. Get any on your net, Jeremy. Oh, Yenibo, this is my audible. Sure. By His grace, oh, I am moving forward from nowhere to somewhere, some nobody to somebody. Goodness and mercy. I tell you about them so she run the through me so now is my turn. This is my season. And yesterday I don't know who your chain way from.
She run the police. Come anywhere she run. Come here, Jesus, she run. Come anywhere she run. She run the police. Come anywhere she run. Come here, Jesus, she run. Left her right, she run. She run the police.
Shout out to Kofi, my baby. Anytime I dey step out, Kofi the track in my dressing. He say, what you dey want to for breakfast? He dey give me cheeseburger, sausage, yeah. Hey Kofi, my baby, yeah, shape up penny, yeah, shape up penny, yeah, shape up penny. Missy me John Joe, shape up penny, shape up penny, yeah, shape up penny. Hey, shape up penny, shape up penny, shape up penny. Hey, shape up penny, shape up penny, shape up penny.
And you be Biana, yes, it was Akosomo in Marque. Apart from the fair, I had that. Only me ex the Diana, Yappa. Oh, be feeling benza. The way you do the whiny. To me, person, me be sassa, why me. Oh, be feeling benza. Bad girls from the 90s. Oh, you're correct, it's the 90s. And until she go be my wifey. Now I ride them punk on the nicely. Bad girl from the 90s. Oh, you're correct, it's the 90s. And until she go be my wifey. Now I ride them punk on the nicely. And shape up penny, shape up penny, shape up penny. Me jump through, shape up penny, shape up penny, shape up penny.
Shape up penny, shape up penny, shape up penny. Hey, shape up penny, shape up penny, shape up penny. Love me, I love you too. Cause anything I say you do, them say I do you juju. One and a woo woo. You love me, I love you too. Cause anything I say you do, them say I do you juju. One and a woo woo. Hey, hey,
Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here.
Coffee they buy me moto.
Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here.
Coffee they buy me moto. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here.
Me jump through. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here. Me jump through. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here. Yes, chef up in here.
Yeah.
front of someone's store.
1 week is 50 cities. But we are 10 in the room.
We are 18 people sleeping in one room.
I sleep beside the gutter. We are sleeping by a group.
Jewels of the street, you are my jewels indeed. I saw your raw state and I see you today and I'm amazed. This is called determination.
Hi, my name is Mavis Leonard, the Vice President of Leonard's Group of Companies, empowering the girl child. It's my thing. Be inspired.
Mediali Kofi Akpabio. I'm the leader and founder of the Liberal Party. Say, can't LP. LP, so Someha, let's Someha, Nayanko. TV there, and no one MHTV. Now, watch it. Ghana is watching. Ghana phone na eshe. Home na Ghana ni bi omo wa brochi omo Ghana ha nyina eshe. And no one Ghana is watching. Enti sabrewi Chimu TV no fato Ghana is watching live. Many flow.
Ebagana fo nyina akwa ba erba MHTV so braso sabudi mu nsam so yereba so bibiara wo ha MHTV na ese wo hwe sports beat for papa na no pay so edi bibia eso edi ebronsam no edo so nanso ye sha ase de na egba wuram e wo Facebook na YouTube ho na wo search na ese na omani edi eye kai have it achi nanso no mo hwe price na nekuta brand no so na ese mo hwe mu pa de be 100 million euro no na ya de na ebe ha adwini nti no wo mo ye mo de se na sa de o be focus so wo Jody Sancho na no na Olegun associate be tu dwa se wo mo ko Sancho ho no eno so a ekopa sky because brand no so de no eye 120 million euro eti no mo hwe between Sancho any brand di kai have it dia na nka ka have it kra de na ye eye na so no ekoba ti no na se ka have it abom Sancho abom ejezi ananga sa de o mo so mo ko adwa na so mo adwa eti Olegun associate wo so mo be ye kwan bia so no matimi asan ne brand ne di Edi Sancho na se atamfu nyina enso anim agu ase etwa ensam no so e de ama na no pa dia na e gba wura mu e wa branch ndi new men's minds na abrantie oya midfielder pillar edma Chelsea na branch na betu dwase na ni anje ni papa kra de betu dwase branch na ni ngi bi se ka have it obayi oya world class player no so ye on say middle class player what I say it wan hwe ya na se ne kra no obetata bench ama branch na timi start etiesi ane de eye ne ya pa yie enso ase ekwan bi aso no obekọ nkodin no so obomodin atubia bi abo amateur so ne manyina enso akoso yie edemo no say eye Stamford Bridge is his home and you say obia enso ekoso edemo no na PG wo mo sporting director and nini lodenu ela betu dase ekwan bi aso no na nka eso mo sane eye Messi was a chance na dia be to hopa dia anka Messi conversion is simple kra eti openika se na tu dia se ona na Messi a eno so sign no eti na se wo mo de no ma ready scanner ready bia aye such say eso mo san branche eye Lionel Messi etwa and seven so yama Barcelona for wo mo se na di o mo kotabli eye mo final bill o mo de ha kotum e de akokoma branche ni Loteno Martinez amoma hweto metimi asane branche no e na free eye timo ni Inter Milan eti na die wo mo e hwe ani mu atabli ska e de akokopie mu e wo Inter Milan no makwa hweto metimi asane branche ni Loteno Martinez ni mo nyina enso atimi akoso e de mo nti Barcelona coach ona da so a wo hwe no say e kwa bia so nya Loteno Martinez ebe kan omo ewa anim ho a enye nyina enso ebetimi aye kama etimi adiamo se Jerome so no na ye captain edima eye Spain team no sa enso no captain Madrid team na no na brand tie betu da wo se esi ade Elisa Enrique wo adwuma ye pa e wo Spain team because ohwe mrantie na eba na young players na masa ball no mu ni mbo form de ekuta omo form no eye kama obi ti se anso fight ni form no eye kama yie pa enti se ukuta sa mrantie nkitikiti we na omo form no eye kama de a na se ne uwa adwuma ye enti se Jerome wo no na edibi e kire eye coach Spain coach ni se adwuma de bi wo ho pa de ma no every se ebe difficult I want to say obetimi ahum mrantie we no akaka mo bom enti na die na se ne wo bom pa ye se coach ni kosu ye man but onim say de be de adiama Luis Suarez ene ofi Liverpool ko pie mbasa ene de say yini ba kwa se ncham de no na antie ba sabranti oka eye Juventus ho dia na se wabeto so eye 13 players makoma ko 13 na wo mo so abo Messi ni Ronaldo omonya kwanya ene Messi abo omo ni Ronaldo abo obuti se eye amrante bia so mo so Dybala Paulo Dybala say wabo Messi Argentina sanso abo Ronaldo Juventus what ya say play bebre and omo so team esi makanti Suarez enso kan ofri say Suarez any Barca oni Messi abo and sanso no nya kwan any player oni Ronaldo so kwa akobo eti definitely onya kwan any Ronaldo bo pe na so no so beto so 13 players omo so etimi enoma ball timre emusem ni nyina anso betimi ade ababeso mo yeto aso dia na finele Liverpool omo so abrantie ba ko isi ade omo eguso omo ni basaguso omo di enkomo na abrantie di Edi Jorginho Udonido na abrantie wo se esi ade Barcelona ha na ono so kosi na kan na no na omo consider say nko bia komunya tewa kanta na so coach ni se David mi hia abrantie mi hia Jorginho mi hia no ewo mi team no mu na ne manyina enso atimi akoso na se ya na Manchester United for so won no koto abrantie di editeko akanchala no so mu hia abrantie na no na entia ba sa abrantie na akajo na me kura no se me nyama ji se mi fi ba mu ni na me me nka mi fi ba mu ni na United for mu cheche me na United dem de mi nya ho kura etabrantie no wa tutu bi ya United for so mu ntuma bi kura won mo ha mo ho kura se on wa be fa se mo be pe no wo nye na adwi se oba eyetima ndi ni Manchester Liverpool dia fine ho na wa be si na aka ye to seven so dia ma dia na se kopie mu awo abrantie ba coach training edema England the Three Lions of England no na coach is a good e to just say and even though no omo ebo abrantie ni di Raheem Sterling she one goal edema awom aye penalty na so hu se adwuma de ebi wo ho pa eso ye coach is adwuma de eda ho edema England say so ye ni ho ye na omtimi bon ho modern ema England so picking the form no mani manyina Akosomo to so hwe se de niema ekone dia o adwuma ye pa awo eye team ni mo sa na september mo nsem ni AC de ma dia na say last story awo mo nsem no abrantie ndi kai have it abra kopie mu wo Chelsea enre ya and is on starting the training awo eye team ndi edi Chelsea na training de na nya asam ketwa na say entia eba na ni mpedifo di nkomo firi amana ne eya bruchire ba ne de na say me partnership so mo bruchire no mu di nkomo no mo chese ampa abrantie ni form ne ye kama abrantie ni form no eye kama pa goals ne de na say next season no ebe hu e de ama England de na no na je group kwara betu ja o see de Lampard de no nchena se e de na Lampard ayi no ho sinsan ya e de ko a eye Premier League keke e Champions League na de na afaso ye na ma ademi ehuhu o se ka have it obayi obe threat chise ko jise mu England de obi e ka mo ndo ko na di ye e di ka first say de Lampard de ye no nchena se adan uhunu na ye sa e de na uhunu ezi ama logo na se kra yem hye no United supporters wo mo tika have it ni na mo hye wo mo pressure nsi abrantie no so won nya boko won there is abrantie no on na masie sa na o hye goals ni ade na se eni da manen nsem no anso edi asie ma ya sha ase edi afri efie edi amade pa kwasi febi no so akochi teams me bra sha ntu goal kotoko ni ade has for kura no akochi pena no ene odi atudwa se sesi ano na ene ya efise akonya na o wafa manam na nkochi eya under 17 na si ya eyi o se wo braye wo si timu abra ho wa bra na 17 ho pa chese abra no mo weko eya India 2017 kura akobo eye omo World Cup no kura wonu an neto aduanu ma players no na mpedifo mo ene ne nsam a esoko kan ya ama na di eyi ni ba ko enso ahye ne nsam the girls Accra as folk omwankasa omu goalkeeper ne din Eddie Richard Atta wala betudwa se oda obi bia se sampa enanu ya no koye ne yire ho ade kama na esa abayo so no Joyce eye anan Joyce anan se wanedie watimi akwaku tuni nsa e bibia kama de ama abayo na enda na wedi na nye betesa ade na otuja wedi no na ye busuafo kakra bi COVID-19 ti ena oye no ena ohwe ne na fufuo mo ban ne pa se house for players ni bi ade ena odom kogu ahye ne wo ye kitwa bi na so na me tete ho aya se na me tete ho a mesume hwe se de ne ekone enya asenketwa na wedi ne de na ye brutal ade eti Richard Atta house for players and na Blasters goalkeeper one why ne wedi ne kama ade se wo hwe ni ma se start league no na ni bibia nso enso atimi ahyehye ye atimi adama no coach Karim Zito ene de oda tudwa was black satellite no sorry black satellite no nyama ekoyie ade mom internet de omo hwe ni ma so mutima to nyama ba ko minu mensa omguso a omo test no ahwe ni ma ba ko minu mensa bi atimi ade amom na bibia enso kama inti black satellite na de onim se nyame adom na COVID-19 no efiri ho a bibia nso ebe kama atimi ade amom ye to ansam so ede ma de ne ekopie mu ewo coach adi ede Hakim na Kodie de tudwa oso hwem pa dia na yese ne enyema ekoso ewo look ye first ye division 1 ne division 2 ne de baller o say ha adwene papa wo hwe ti se bia ye purchase ne ade de ebo so bo a enko yie o say purchase ne enko yie bibia ye basa what I say 80 players ne bobo wo so ene man ko yie mfa mo no ono a wo gidie se ene empanifo bom edum no behwe omo a park a wo ho a enye enema wo ho a asa nyina no empanifo betia ni o se empanifo amfo mo ho anhyem ammo amane man ko yie amom dia ene nima be basa enti eye division 1 parks ni nyina na hwe park ni bi kura na wo na buafu ho na ubuafu ntia no so ho ensem ye to aso e wa shanti gold dia ne sinei o mre to dwa se kwan bia so betimi abomode akopiem e confederation na akobom homode so betimi age e de ama eye Ghana so enim ato so kama ene de no yese e Benjamin Futumu ni ade replace bi mo ho house of folks so mu so mo kasa se be ya mo contract eye extension mo betimi a stand dia mom ne manyina enso akoso ye dem ye to ensem no so de ne se ne ekopiemu e wo AMA dia ise de mo kopiemu akoye adoye so 50% dia wakoma eye disabled for so mo hwe ni ma se ene mo be koso ye atimi e dia mom e de nsem nyina e be si e wa ha se na fe ye jamu anasmejam de ama Akosomo no so beto aso entertainment no e de abro me da wibi ase wa hwe me bia ekoso kama etimi e de amom timi se ba fia ade ne se team no obi aye ready before that no me chia eye mebusuafo nyina weekend dia obesie na enye beta sabato benden nti obi bia na mi show bia so de mo a mo we hye me so me da obi bia ase efia ase enso for Adesina Junior team bi Akosomo Agyeiwaa Kodie papa bi no omo maka nyina na afedi ni nyina nso asi edemo medin ade Charles na atobi we share come from Charles Major so
Moi je suis béni, Satan, voilà bas. Tu comprends? Hein? Satan, tu comprends? Ah ouais. D'accord.
This is my season. And she yesterday, that you don't get Agyeiwaa. Now it's my turn. This is my season. And she yesterday, that you don't get Agyeiwaa. Obey home your parent. Now cause I'm like Ghana. And I tell you better. And she ran every so what it.
To the left and right. To the left and right. Okay. To the left and right. To the left and right. I'm called. Yeah, my yes, you wrote. Say you want the metal and you do your one. Jenny na di pano. It is some do your one. Number 4 no say my Jenny na me ni go to conta ya fight. She running through me so. Yeah, my yes, you wrote. You want the metal and you do your one. Jenny na di pano. It is some do your one. Number 4 no say my Jenny na me ni go to conta ya fight. She running through me so. Yeah, me and me ko. Obusamti, me and me was so at it. So one chance here, me and me was so. Yeah, I go so shamio. She running through me so at it.
You m'appelles homme still homme Adumre, Odi wadum na dumia. Mesu na maye shiro bie, kai na maye shiro te. Yene ni onyam na jare mi.
Welcome to the Maiden Edition. On this show, we don't only seek to educate, we entertain, we inform, we put a microscope on your celebrities, we delve deep into their sex lives, celebrity weddings, drama, scandals, parties, flourishing lifestyles, the made to believe. Who's making money in the industry and who isn't? Fashion. Who is popular and who is a celebrity? We'll go deeper into the world of our slay queens, the survival of up-and-coming artists, this and many more. I'm Akosomo, and this is Entertainment Pulse. So a morning break Jimmy said Charles at the sports beat no akogo to media need the munsem and bromia near the newspapers and so moon pens and pens bonus so at for pepe. Make also following with your social media platforms in our Facebook and our Instagram, MHTV, YouTube network as no Mabling House. Then also so we are no about subscribe to channel no follow liking now face so watch share no leave or comment pepe or comment section one about beginning now you make web dom your global sky security someone is always watching learn at home in our faces in the GH schools. Na me share ni jede nsem na se me share de fi local stories area na me international kakra so awon ansa na ye fi ha say me share se na me share se ni sister fia no se na watwe atwam ya asem a trend wo ha nyina ni Dr. Dr. fa obi ase Dr. enso so ne hwan na UN awards ya ba beta awards pepe ni ewi echi ni ko hu za awards ni na e fake na e scheme pan na ya ne kese na when sister fia so de nsem abeto ja se ono de ono sankono pa na dis asem ni di na nkasa semra papa no aye Dr. Forge wonko na ngona kan ni singu nenu ni na nka watutu watu atwene da osanka ne obena ntu okroma na sina ofia na osere kama chobia nka oba fitness ne na esim ba kumpo se eni ho watutu ni na da no ababe dada nkofo ma se mama medi wachia no ase wacha awards am ye kohwe mu awards so wa wunya adwuma wo UN oso anya hwe na wababe gu celebrities bebre e wo Ghana ni mu ase sister fia se ono de ofile sorry emani ni fellow celebrities say some way at home na nkai ono pa de a nkenya de obema papa no afa ne ho adi da e wo kwan biara eso na yetu ansem ne so bulldogs no da ansem aba betu ja say shatawale pa esan join VGMs bi ma no obedokua ose pa so obetina ho as shata ne manager wan shatawale ensan ko join VGMs bi ne omo award schema omo nye ne kwan paso na omo de awards nkofo tuetua na omo de mo deserve awards ne amfa mom de osise shatawale ko join pe na ono obedokua on sign embe artist manager bio oso won kra se kwa ye wo he sika pa ewom to obejai kra na o to asase na wado afu wo so na VGMs until say omo be se omo suban ne de ono na nya de a obema ne artist bi obesign akwakojo na shatawale de oni shatawale omo sese ne de nya de a omo be join VGMs se okwan biara so na omo de nsema betu ja se Mupo mo cha okra na omo ma fi say VGMs eguo mani mu ase pa ohwe celebrities mienu pa e wo Ghana ha se na fi last year VGMs mi guo mani mu ase poto mo so a mo suspend ma mo se indefinite suspension hwe nim bi o se ahye ne pa nti eno ni nti na so shatawale enya de o ma na join VGMs biom any award scheme bia de o ma na join ba pa say obe file nomination for VGMs de o se nya de a obe face obe buwa no kra wo kwan bia so obe ka say oh ko na o se M1 nti enya de a obe boso kra atren na medical ene ne yere fela makafu so no mo de anyema oh mo de o nya ne yere ni nya fefo bia say ne yiri nyim ose onyim ne yiri nyim ose onyim enu ne na yo ma ware na se obi aba na o kan sem sa se ne yiri ni 2020 pata so onyim na nansi anu hu so wabonyum odo one can promise out kire se o afi de ne yiri no enyim na nansi ya te se ne yiri no awo oba fe kama abaya fe ne yenkoti akola di ani kunu se e friend no island I medical se ne ba ne the island nti island na edin a o de ato ne ba ne the island frimpon se de wetwamfo ni kama tese akola ne ho fe no nansi ehu akola nsem ni papa kra ne fe ntakase ye be hu akola nanim na nsem no so ye de bebre so aba betu dwa pepepe na mama Brown so eno de nsem aba betu dwa say na mama Brown o twase ni san tese advert bebre organ ha de upe obi a odini mu pa de na mama Brown no nsem aba betu say UN awards e ka de na nko nu so odina ho bi ji award oso ho ha ne send ni email ye Dr. Kwame Owusu Frimpong ya Dr. UN send ni email say oh UN for ananti o ma breji award oso ye no wa anko na onfo amfani serious email ni so a wan reply say ebi obeba ana say on mind on the one friend so o ha na papa ya sign friend no biom say ono ani show na 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 ani show no ye na Mac Brown's kitchen no opese oba subi na say na opese oba subi say to no osi wen fi no ti ono ofani ku o say oh okay we the mema reply later nti ono wan fa na anya asem kewe echi na obete say UN awards ne kra nsem awo hu na say papa no kra o mfi UN bia UN na yes won si ho kra da ma ba be makofia na awards ana say UN secretary general say UN na on si wadan to hu say na nyame na age ne nkwa na nya sa de a nkokom de nende akwakodi papa echi na ono so akwakodi award no nso we de hu na adwin serious of adwin hu say email we ma reply after all awards me nya bebre say me skip ba ko ya enya de be hwe na e award papa so de a betimi de ato am obebi a me wo bia nti o ebi ama nkokra na award ni betimi enya ebeba me fie pepepe nti no wamfa no serious bia na sa doctor Frimpong ye mu o da ba beto so ono na make stars e wo wiase am nyina o se chese Ghana ha se ko na make stars na ono na awards na o cheche no o se awards na big people e na fata sa awards chese onya akranka president we de bedu ye hwe nkofo mu nya awards ba hwe so a big people nkon le nya award Obamu Abalegon vice chancellor ono so gene citation pepepe chese nipa agi ye de bebre o so no e na make people stars e Ghana ha se nti ye se wo na mo na awards nso do say award no obi ani ho betima che award se do no e che sa awards ni be so ono na awards no e special wa cha sa 7th edition ni nti o nyanjai che o se mumu na mo dwen sa asema ba won se oh asembe na ho se wa hu adwuma omo ye e na odi ama o award nti enye se scheme bia se na nkofo keka se scheme o so na award e credible pa na odi ama o hwe o madwuma omo ye achievement na ema o ma ye ma Ghana na no de hwe so and the mom was honorary award. You know, it's celebrities be nya award ni bi omo post pictures no omo Instagram, Twitter ni ade. Omo akwa delete ni na chese no so omo post yen. No mo say UN na omo anamoa. Na say na Dr. UN mum na nye UN ankasa na na omo sa ona ni to obi akwa delete pictures na fi ni walls ni na ama. Ehwo nsensem kra de bebre ama nkofo se de omo sire omo ani obi aba na obesirom kakra na okowesu ba na obabesirom kakra na okọ Dr. UN so ono na make people stars e wo Ghana ha se na nye de omo dwen ho no se de ono okaso obe ye star na obe ye star na obe ma award kakra e na obi a e ka ho asem so fukum chacha eso so e de aba betu dwa se ono so fukum chacha nde so obe wari Kristo ni ba de nko be yi nani kura na wari sebe tutu ni ba ya shawo ni sebe no na ono obe wari o sa na o se Kristo fo me o se papa bi anim so omo ba na ma betena ho no omo yi omo hu se o sorry o se oh my say my krom merade a o se chese eno no mudira wanti e na omo yesa na oba pa owura okristo ni ba fi a e na hu se omo suba na enya maku se so omo suba enya wo kwan biara so nto no pa de so bo ye kristo ni na asori de na oye ne ho ne ma pa na oba fi a eburo fita na oba be buru ni kunu de kono oni be ware ahye wo ni sebe tutu ni ba na one no abobere no kra no betima asesa no efi ne tutu brani na oba ba ye oba pa na eno no aso erade ani se obefa obi a ote asori dem oso onim nyame na emom no edu anajo a oye ne ma bone nkoa na nka so no de oni tutu ni no difference biara enim nto no no de yifam de onkono no ebefa tutu ni no na waja Kristo ni Calvin Boy enso so ene de ababetu je se ono no say de ope king of live band there ono Oseba live band ya oya ade so na the best live band performer e wo Ghana ase o live band uyi one Calvin Boy a obi eni ho bi mu a obetumi abo live band se do no bo no wo se wa he VGM isi kra se no be bo nyum wa se kakra bi live band small one na obetumi e kire wo VGM isi na se no kra ne nketo mu no na no oba pa na we stage ni live band na obo kire wa na mo se ai live band oba Ghana ha se obi eni ho a obetumi etu eye Calvin Boy no na the best live band nipa owo ho a oye live band pepe so obi eni ho a oni ni ebedi asie e wo ho na ensem ni koso andara skuku a afi owini on the 21st VGMAs no otimi enya reggae dancehall artist of the year no oda ba beto se ebe ya nka aban omo ayedo makoto afi ase se omo shi wi ni ade na wi kankan ni wi kese pan skuku se ebe ya nka aban nya o se ya de wokotum se wanu wi sa na anye den o se anke be ya aban enya omo yi omu ni na enfi prison omo ma no wi ne haban kakra na edo makoto prison se omo anum no boni no se anke mu yi omu fi ho no na enu mo beboa onu na ade kotum sisi ya we dey say ye duro o se onim se we dey ye duro abofo kra bebre na use for treatment ni ade nti ade na obi ba no wi na wati na kotum to se aban enhwe bibi na onye mfa ho na omo ma ye ya chi omo kotum ni na se wi ene nuba enu kakra nti ye do matum no o se ye yi omu ni na emfi efi ase na ano ana osre aban se onye o se wi no enya de wi mani pa bodam o se wi no wo ba bodam wo wi nwa na age se ye de bibi na afra ma o se wi nko a se haban ne nko ade o se no bodam e wo kwan bia so nta aban enyi omu mfi no ompe bibi fufo mo nye ebi adwuma bi nsa no adwuma bi no fa mo hye mo nka omu ni na ngu dan ba ko ne ncheche omade na eno no ebesesa omo since you don betu efiase na dem tu efiase na omo bre a omo ba wi no afi de omo no nkom besan abeton aka mu nto se ono no na de srede a wode ma aban enso so eno Celestine don kosusu no say obi aba na abeka bi obi aba na abeka bi na 21st Vodafone Ghana Music Awards ene ehun se Sonny Bado ebe wo she Kwame Eugene. Oh, congratulations my son for winning Artist of the Year. Emma Nkrofo bebre be kan wasem say ade na on support gospel act mu na your to high life ni mo no ba be support na Sonny Bado so ni ndi na wana ono so Celestine don kosu de beto wo say papa wa mamera huye pa hwe honum sa ada no say anajo no emoji ewini male vocalist of the year me Celestine don kosu me wini female vocalist of the year ni na gospel na yebo nanso so wen hu ye mu bia mpo anka se at least gospel act wo Ghana etimi ayade na preko a otwen ya artist of the year eno kra no sanka gospel act wini anko no onyi ni se wo Sonny Bado no oba be man congratulations na otwen ya obi for secular music ni die wetimi awushi no congratulations se we wini award na wo gospel scene nim die wentimi anka nche obi ampo se congratulations e wo kwan biara so watwen ya obi ba ya na wotimi twen ya high life act ewini artist of the year na wo na mo yesa na ono Sonny Bado no omboa emma gospel act wo Ghana ha say esusu entimi enko ominim efi se obi aba obi ampo emma na mo aje so mo ho na wo a wetima ko anima wetima kwa akwaya sofo wo na nke se ukura omo a omo bonyom e wo Ghana ha say na nso so osuso enyade a oye bibia ebo om to se enu hu no wadi Sonny Bado hu ya oye pa no ye no wanini ye nke bia nka congratulations gospel act baako eka de odi ye Kwame Eugene na nso so enyi wani nko ase Kwame Eugene de no pe ena onu pe ena ba awards na se otimi enya award eno baron ni so de ba beto se up and coming artist de ntia omo ntimi emma so ne se obi aba o preso benye scantem o se up and coming enya se oba ye na ni wenye score so ono no ba ye bre ya nse na oba benye scam nti anya afi na odi kakra ba beto se oba ye na odi nyom ba akom yenu aba na apese ye ma amose wa ya ade na ye fi unye ska kakra ko se enu kan aka hu bi omo pese omo ye famous overnight nti na omo ntimi enye nyompa obi aba obo enyom a ohra ebe sel na odi nipa ho akwa ebo nyom enu so a emmoa okwamia so se onyom no pese sel dey as an up and coming artist bonyom anyansa ewom a ebe ma obia ate onyom no wate nyansa sem ewom enu ena be ma na sel na empre se obeye famous overnight sa Sandra Nkobia so ena Dr. UN nsemi bo da ba beto se hey celebrities e course awards night na ase no pa ne de o se chese omumu kra no omu de ne eya west nka de bi ba Ghana ha se omu female celebrities ni bi e praise om kwakosha na onu so twa omu boy no se chale enkrofo de ne ye west kra ese o se na wote ho no wo hu se wo ahunu nim se wonye aduma bia UN ebe ma recommendations kra ne aka cho se e ba be ona nke e ba be ona kra na nka UN ankasa kra no emfra woni kan o se Dr. UN afa okay na nipa ko no fra no so oye aduma e wo ho no wo ye background checks on wo se chese omunya te se award na obi apepere se okwa akwaji award ni omanye background checks wo papa ne ho omanhwe bibia se ofihi anampo se ofihi eno ane se omote so we wini award na bram obi a man ne bag so akwatena ho no se twen ni agbani di no so abedi na award na social media so se Ghana for Kodie bi ba mo sere ye de na so we die esene Kodie bi oba ha se ni de no papa ezo esene kra times 3 oso we de nya kra enya de ezo so ankofo sere mo beja isesi oso we adi se asemfo fro ba pa na nya sa de ye besere akosi next year 2021 ene beja UN assembly enho sere so obi aso ba ma be kan wasem se before no kra obi aka cho so we win award oso no we futu kakra o de mom ni se omunya background checks kakra no mu se we ena nkoyi ewo ho na nya se omo pepere na bran na ye koye na ya frame se menya award nti ena ma ba se enu no enwo omo kwan biara Reggie Rockstone enso so no so any the local stories ni si Reggie Rockstone nse mi Reggie Rockstone ni papa ena the patch jeans e ba Ghana half first so ni papa na invented patch jeans or ba patch ha no patch jeans ni cales no abon so ni papa na the ba first enu we 1670s kura ena ni papa de ba enti ni papa na started sa patch jeans fashion no ankofo bebre ebesu ya ntese ni papa so aya ade pa e wo Ghana ha says o invented bibia ama abrofo ni na akora esua omo so omo de ye omo inventions bebre na so hu ni se Ghana omo support ya de pa kasa patch jeans ne ba ya na omo support ya ka ba now ebeka se Ghana for ene de back na so mo ye ya na omu je mu ko e o se ne papa tama na papa bonyo sa address ne nko ana na o ye so mo twen ya ma bibia kwa na obro ni kwa ye na afi Ghana fo ni na esusu enya omu hihye bi na so Ghana ni ye de o ma fa ni serious nti wo pe the real inventor of part jeans a o se ono ne papa Agyeiwaa Sons ne papa pa ene de part jeans e ba Ghana first na e was ansem ne so ne local stories ni na ekọ na wie ye fa international stories kakra so aka ho pepepe ya sha ase ne near the track with Bossman and some ene sha ase Black Panther star onya ne baby koye due to colon cancer at the age of 43 and na Saturday and ye see no kama ye kra na tikura e wo Malibu na cemetery wono na hu se nkofo e ba ho de bebre kwa obia e ba besu nti no bebre e ba ye obia the last farewell by Lupita Nwoyo say omo oni omo yi Black Panther ni na ade obia wo ho say ya obia e ba bi a obema no farewell obe we shi no good say ono nso so onko twire Abraham akoko moko si say obia ebe hye nti finally no yakura chap with Bossman etikra ayesie no na yere so de areho sa ekofi anso no set act na ene ne acting movie stars na o manja no mekra na yere mu pa ne na busua mu yie pa ebi so omo se papa no de na oye ni papa pa oboa obia nti no so de enya ade a omo begyae na yere mu pepepepe sada na Chrissy Teigen a oye John Legend yere na lady so enyem 3 months or nyem pa ne third pregnancy na wo no se okwakoye botox se okwakwo mpane e wo ne honam baby Chrissy se okwakwo mpane na ebia ni nim shape ompe ni ha se ompe o se ne kon no esu kakra nti wakwakoye botox e reduce ne kon na no na ne fans bebre eni no ending ye na o se na obi a wonyem de oye den kwa wo mpane kwaye botox no ba ba cha se botox no kwaye ne de botox a harming human life ohun ni se me ha se enenye ye nti na me pese metinetine mu kakra ne ntenye se me pese me ha me ba no e wo kwan bra so se nya de eno no ebe ha me ne ba ne da nti no omo nkoma akoma nto o me yem ono Chris ne de bibia eda kwan mu pepepe ne ba ne so ho ye ono ani ne kunu John Legend so ekọ doctor homa doctor no verify che o se ne ba no botox no kwaye no ha no e wo bibia kwan biara so Dr. Dre enso ene ne yiri ni ko na almost so ma worry egu pepepe na Nicole say ope $5 million efi ni kunu ni honom na $5 million no or the anu ebetu any legal fees or the $5 million ni etu any legal fees no per spousal monthly spousal duties so $2 million nto say eno ene ya ade a ope fi ni kunu wansa na finally no wasan divorce ntino ope $7 million efi ni kunu $5 million or the betu any lawyer ka na bosumi bia asoso no $2 million omani nsu kakra e won account mu na no so on fan hwe ne how far if you say ne kunu no na aye na adwun so obegya no de ono ne ko no nya na adwun so obegya na waware ne nko ade ne sika wanya no ono so ohia mu chefa nti rapper Dr. Dre enso so emfa $2 million emma no send the spousal money no se won ne ware ye ne sika ono so obenya efi ne ho no eno no na yade insem ni area no yade Britney Spears enso so na etwa to Britney Spears no da ba beto say the ne papa Jamie ni sika na ne na japade na eda na so no conservatorship na ankese se ne papa ehweso ma no o se ne papa enye na adwun so bejem say the odi ahye under lock and key o da kope closet bi mu ahye na dem bia bebi obokobi a key no say ne ho ne papers ni na ahye ho no as a court cry here papers no o si papers bi eni no oni bebi a papers no onye na adwun say Britney Spears ejapade no obejem mama na ma Britney Spears ni aketewa no kra any trust fund no etimi aheso ye nti Britney Spears ohia moa efi nipa bebre wono metimi aba na omene ne papa aba be kasa ama ne papa eja nyemam na onim se ne papa ne wanyi ebia na wakwa ne encourage na ode papers ni na bebi odi besie ne nya de omo be mu nti nya se odi ni na efi ne nsam kwa na ohre ni age na ne na ho fama ne health issues a ohre a emoa na ebia na ne papa no anche nti na opeso obi hweso ne nya se otan ne papa nti na oji efi ne nsam na eho ene the entertainment just ne mu nsam ni na eba ababesi amaw media ne ama Akosomo ma we mfi so be follow you social media platforms na Facebook and Instagram MHTV YouTube ne Twitter so Mabling House Limited and you make ko about my children your global sky security someone is always watching learn at home and our face no GH schools morning break media ni yem ye beka newspaper review segment no yes sign e de no so atwa so ama afefe macron. Welcome to the maiden edition. On this show, we don't only seek to educate, we entertain, we inform, we put a microscope on your celebrity, we delve deep into their sex lives, celebrity weddings, drama, scandals, parties, flourishing lifestyles, the made to believe, who's making money in the industry and who isn't. Fashion. Who is popular and who is a celebrity. We'll go deeper into the world of our slay queens, the survival of up-and-coming artists, this and many more. I'm Akosomo, and this is Entertainment Pulse. The morning break Medina and when you go to our ocean newspaper review segment so and you do your din somewhere APM our newspaper anymore near the Abama Mount Pepe near Penson Mukama. Ever near PMO our daily graphic Ghanaian Times in our faces daily guide newspapers new. Answer and follow you on your social media platforms in our Facebook and our Instagram, MHTV, YouTube networks as also Mabling House Limited. In Mokua, Airboy Metridom, I'm here the newspaper review segment in Ebron. Global Sky Security, someone is always watching and our faces no GH schools. Na Midiane Ama Akosomo mini aba Agyeiwaa Kodie. And the newspaper review segment no bro yebehwe PM no our daily graphic front page prepare penny the amount on the front page of the daily graphic voters register exhibition begins September 18 exercise lasts 8 days. Nana Kunedu leads NDP to December polls. See try ho abasima ye ba ya den samni ni na so ebebo on the front pages so ye de beka ho kama. Mesan emama kwaba bio mfidie na yedi ejuma ntaya na mo de ache yen kakra. Na metwa so no yedi the mindset of the wise na edi be mama Agyeiwaa abatina na dwem pepepe de the mindset of the wise in Christendom come on. Or de twa so ama yen pepepe. Aba. No pay there. You say adumara kwa. Ebi duwe den die. Jana ni ehwe nim kakra nti jana nya bedu ana.
September bosumi no na ye wone da etosonso wa fimpinu ene aduonu anope ye nde obokra tan pese mu aye de eba besomo na so bia se ne ye no se sorry anopa dia mindset of the wise no eno ene ye breakfast aha bibia ye fa nyankopon se de ya na ehuhia pa enye bibi e de tu ikuto dwenim e de bo abrabo ene the mindset of the wise no ye pem akoye ni mu ani so say he discovers that the ability to stay focused is the strongest force to achieve greater heights. He learns that Abraham became the father of many nations of his ability to keep his focus. Remember, it is up to you to keep your dream alive. Keep in mind, the less people you talk to about your dream, the better. There are dream killers, and everything God has said concerning your life will come to pass. If you don't have it, it means the time is not due. Roll with the punches each day and keep that dream alive. Have a good morning. Nti anope ama the mindset of the wise.
Say in some no cry a bomb say ya and you that to say was some nearby pepepe. Say you will in Christendom de enu any yami edi to ya yanamo ni na ye and be baby a basis so de ukra wudi de mu pa woni mu de abibia ebekọ so ama pepe pesenia esena efata no enso so. Aba na ye sha ase ne be the front page of the various newspapers ye wo ewo ye mamu ha enne de ye ba be pensen mu nso so ye be the front pages na ye sha ase be the front page of the Daily Graphic. Now, our Daily Graphic front page. Voters register exhibition begins September 18. Exercise lasts 8 days. And our front page now at also our page 3. Nana Kunedu leads NDP to December polls and also page 16. Clients of collapsed fund management companies. First batch receives payment end of month and also page 16. MTN takes NCA to Supreme Court and also page 64. NDC launches manifesto today and also our page 20. Here I had the front page of the Ghanaian Times. Well, Ghanaian Times front page and so yeah, well, CRI calls on government to consider opening schools and we'll page 14. Bagre Dams village 6 die, hundreds rendered homeless and farms submerged and also page 14 of the Ghanaian Times. The Simon Nana Akufo-Addo acclaimed flag bearer of NDP for 2020 polls and also our page 13. Ejapa deal to go ahead, finance minister and also page 13. And Agyeiwaa laments breakdown in paperless port system and also our page 20 of the Ghanaian Times. Naya Shah says you ever heard the front page of the Daily Guide. Well, Daily Guide front page and so near President incensed by Achim Jebi and no our page 3. Mahama defends Achim Sakawa insult and also our page 3. Nana blasts Mahama over poor jobs were page 3. And armed robbers arrested with weapons in Suwa page 6. Entrepreneur petitions Otum for over Kumerica tag and also page 6. Competence not tribalism will determine election Baumia and also our page 6. Penti de no sumun semno ebetwa so ama mo kama na ye shase any the Daily Graphic na Daily Graphic story ni shase our front page na atwa so our page 3. Voters exhibition begins September 18. Exercise lasts 8 days. The Electoral Commission has called on all Ghanaians who registered in the biometric voters registration exercise to partake actively in the voters exhibition exercise scheduled for September 18 to September 25th this year. It said the exhibition was the final opportunity for registered voters to authenticate their personal information as well as confirm if their names were on the register. Again, the exercise will help the EC rate the register of unqualified persons ahead of the December 7 polls. The Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Serbo Kweku, who made the call, stressed that Ghanaians must see the exhibition as an important exercise because it would help all voters know where they would vote, because it is where you check your name that you will vote on December 7. Dr. Kweku made the call at the National Delegates Conference and acclamation of the flag bearer of the national. He stressed that it was not enough to register to vote, but that the onus lay on all registered voters to ensure that their data were properly captured in the register.
Yensha nsɛm n'ase deɛ na kyerɛ sɛ the daily graphic and the daily graphic the ubokrata no sɛnea amade kyerɛ ne nsɛm a egu the front page ni deɛ bebree na akwa yɛnhyɛ aseɛ deɛ na kyerɛ sɛ new voters registration a yɛyɛ Agyeiwaa wadi mfie du wɔtwe ɛkɔ bi a wɔdwene dɛ ɔka deɛ wokɔ ɛkɔ kyerɛ odi sɛnea ɛbɛyɛ na December bosom ni da ɛtɔ so nso ayɛ bɛyɛ obi a ebetumi akɔ akɔto aba sɛnea amanyoku ahorow ne dɔɔso no ɛdɔɔso yie papaapa nanso bieye na sese yetumi paw nea wo bedi enim atra bangwa ne so se Ghana mampani enu nti abato commission a ma me jimensa edo ma no wo mo de hyehyem egu akwama enu no na wotwe na wo matu de asi wa wo mo hye ase afi September bosome ne da etosu du wotwe no no na aba abieye ne da etosu aduonu enu nti wa ekotro odin bia samre de akwanya no aba se wo beko edu a wo beko na so akwa kese dia efa ho akan bibia akoso ye kama enum na Director of Electoral Services at the EC Dr. Serbo Kwaku ede nsem eto Ghana fo nyina edma wo che se exhibition ya ba bekoso ya de a eho hia yie papa so biara eba kohwe ni din ese wentimi akwankọ na ekoduru December busim da eto sonson na akwakoto aba na kobase wodi ni ma na bibia aha ni nyina ka wo ne mpempin no eya ede ntokwa ne watim no wakame ne niema bebre ebanti wo behia se samedi yi nyina ye bekekan ho ne aka bom se Ghana fo antimebufo se ne ebebo aso na ne a wonya Ghana ne na bibi se ne ye yi omu nyina edin afim no na ye hu se yen a ye to aba na ye kwakoto aba no ye Ghana fo ye din fi du wotwe ekọ na bibia eda ho kan ede maye ama se wo tro odin de
Me din me try pa.
very necessary
Ehu hia.
sa sɛ ne yɛtwerɛ yɛ ne yɛso eduru hɔ a yɛba akɔ check tie mmɔmɔden ɛfa ho ne baabi a wotwerɛ odin no kɔ na akɔ check na bibia ntimi akɔsi yɛ fa ma.
Solely inside Africa, our page 5 of the daily graphic were inside Africa. Policeman and 3 militants dead at a terrorist attack. Security officials in Tunisia says the police officer has been killed and another wounded in a knife attack in the coastal resort of Sousse. The 3 assailants were shot dead after the incident, which has been described as a terrorist attack. In 2015, Sousse was the scene of one of Tunisia's worst attacks where 38 people, most of them British tourists, were killed by a gunman, and the latest incident comes 2 days after a new government was sworn in. The suspected militants rammed the vehicle into a National Guard checkpoint at a junction near the city's port. The knife men stole guns and a police vehicle during the attack before making off. Mr. Djibril, security forces took off after them through the terrorist areas of El Khartouni. In a firefight, 3 terrorists were killed. It is unclear if the assailants were tied to any particular extremist group, but the wider threat in Tunisia in recent years has been from dispersed sleeper cells composed of jihadists that returned from Syria, Libya, and Iraq. 38 people lost their lives when a gunman opened fire on tourists staying in El Khartouni in 2015.
Yeah, inside Africa, daily graphic wakata no ne fa etosu enum no ensama wo honum ne kire mu dia police ni na afin so militant miensa na omatoa nananom ewo nsem nyina sa attack nsensem a ekoso ewo na we Tunisia na sa ensem esi wo honum ti bambo kofo mpanifo na edi nsem tu dwa wo mo kire se ba kokora de ye sekan na kire se edi na wu a wo hwa na kire se ehonsem ahom te pa ya de a ekoso na we de abanfoforo ba betena abengua so no na asa ama ne hum ne so akwakoye bibia ho na so wo mo hwe se wo mo beka ho asem no mutumi ehu ne pomasibre no mutumi aso ano senia emre ekonanim no enkoso a insisa.
Page 5, Honomas, the former Mali president Kita leaves country amid transition talks. Mali's overthrown president Ibrahim Boubacar Keita has left the country to seek medical treatment in the United Arab Emirates. Keita, 75, was hospitalized in the capital Bamako last Tuesday, 6 days after he was released from detention by the military rulers who seized power on August 18. His former chief of staff, Mamadou Kamara, said that Keita left Bamako last Saturday evening on a plane chartered by the UAE at the request of Mali's military rulers. It is a medical visit of between 10 and 15 days. Meanwhile, a diplomat who asked to stay anonymous said that Keita left Mali with his wife, Aminata Maiga Keita, an attaché, 2 doctors, and 4 security agents. Keita's health has been in question since he was hospitalized following his detention for 10 days by the army.
Yetwa nsem ne so do bokata ne fa etosu enum hono modria ankane no Mali mampeni Keita ade a wofi omamu hono mo na nsemu ne naturally Ibrahim Keita na ade a ne ho enhyeda emfa no nenom enam so ma ne ko ekopie mu wa yaresa bia na ohwe ne mfini so bia wokọ nanim pam eduasa enso ne no na echese nsem bebre na ekopebo efa ho ana eno no enye asem ketwa na we ofi ho no mo na no memenda no na no memenda no enwure na de echese wokọ ekotena plane mu a tipa ma UAE United Arab Emirates ntia no so nsem ne pim wakata ni fa etoswini.
It was the editorial on our page 7. Street children deserve our attention. The 1980s and 90s saw a growing global concern for the rights and welfare of children, culminating in the adoption of the Convention of the Rights of the Child by the General Assembly of the United Nations on November 20, 1989. This was closely followed by the adoption of the Organization of African Unity's Charter on Rights and Welfare of the Child by the Assembly of Heads of the States and Governments held in Addis Ababa in 1990. Besides the general concern for the rights and welfare of children in especially difficult circumstances is the other growing international problem of the rising number of street children in the urban areas, mostly in the developing world. Sad to say, the passage of these international conventions has done very little to deal with the issue of growing numbers of children getting on the streets in developing countries. Currently in Ghana, the principal streets of the urban centers, especially the national capital, have become breeding ground for hordes of street children and even youth who are begging for alms, hawking, and offering to wipe the windshields and windscreens of motorists. To further complicate the problem, a number of them have become hoodlums who engage in criminal enterprises such as breaking into the vehicles of motorists and stealing their valuables and threatening to inflict harm on them if they fail to part with their money. The statistics are frightening. For instance, in Accra alone, the number of street children has almost tripled from 35,000 in 2013 to 90,000 in 2014, according to official figures. The Daily Graphic is very worried about this worrying trend because the biggest loser in all of this is the country, considering the fact that children under the age of 15 in Ghana are 38.01% of the total population. The Daily Graphic strongly urges the government, the international bodies, non-governmental and faith-based organizations to step up efforts to address the menace. It is quite clear that all the governmental interventions that seek to take children and young adults off the streets are hardly impactful. Looking at the sheer number of children and young adults on the streets, we appeal to the authorities to do thorough impact assessment of all the interventions and continue to explore more sustainable ways of dealing with the issues and reintegrate these children and young adults into society to ensure their proper development.
Yetwa nsem ne so okrata ne fa etoso ensuno no Daily Graphic osemufo no na dwenkyerɛ anase na dwenfo na ebepiem ne kasafa emofra a womoda emmontene so street children no sese yen adwen etumi ekom ho pa ese bebre na ekoban se mpempi na ya ebinom eye wo mumwa de na so mbi hia pa se ye ba me yadwen akom so pa esi hwema enkwara wo munya emfie dunum ni mpono ya na wo me ohanche mu aduasa wotwe echiripo baako aha nti na se yetumi hwe na yadwen ekom ho pa nyesa koban sa emwa emomayi yempuntu anase ye niema bimpo entumi enko enkan impo Ghana ha say yemrampo na 1992 constitution no Children's Act na ehu hia say enu kwan say yeja emofra egu emuantre senti we osamufo hye say ye ba ne say aban afenso international bodies non-governmental agencies say NGO fo ne ade nyina enkebeya nkabomumwa na sade we yentumi ema yeni enko ho pan no na ama em say Marvin House there ya sha see gidigidi ye Agyeiwaa in the streets aha say ne beye ne ye hwe won na wo montre na ye si nipa hia moa bo nipa wo bra owo nkwa enye bra wo nipa na to na nan mo se na afi na aha nti ye moa na afi bi ntimi enkoso kama.
Now, well, page 7, why human rights violation in election. Ghana has several laws and regulations that govern the conduct of her elections. Among these are the 1992 Constitution, the Representation of the People's Law 1992, PNDC Law 284, and the Vigilantism and Regulated Offences Act 2019, Act 999. The above, among other legislation, provide a conducive environment in which elections should be held in a free and fair manner. In fact, some of these laws further provide penalties for contraventions, whereas the Provisional National Defense Council Law 284 makes provision for penalties in relation to offences of personation and undue influence. Act 999 provides for sanctions in respect of aiding and abetting activities of political party vigilante groups. Section 41 of the PNDC Law 284 stipulates that a person convicted of the offense of personation or undue influence under Section 32 and 35 shall be liable on conviction to a fine of not exceeding 1 million cedis or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or both, and shall for a period of 5 years and after the date of the expiration of his term of imprisonment be disqualified from being registered as a voter or voting at a public election. Section 4 of Act 999 provides that a person who aids and abets activities of political party vigilante groups commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 10 years and not more than 15 years. Regrettably, Ghana's electoral experience since the inception of the Fourth Republic have been characterized by violence and irregularities that challenge the free exercise of the right to vote and the choice of a candidate. Example of these are the swapping of votes for the new Patriotic Party candidate of Agyeiwaa constituency, Mr. George Amo, leading to the declaration of his opponent to win in the 1996 general elections. In 2008, at the Natinga North B polling station in the Boko Central constituency in the Upper East region, some voters were allegedly threatened that if they were caught voting for any other political party than the NPP, they would not continue to live in the area. In 2016, clashes took place between the NPP and the National Democratic Congress at a public program put together for political parties to share their manifestos with the public in Ododo-Diodio, Abokobi, Madina, and Okankwe South constituencies, resulting in injuries and several people and the destruction of properties.
Yento a ensem ne so word krata ne fa etoso enso hono na bia ase wono ma human rights violations in elections ba ne say ye kwakoto aba ha Ghana ha say abibia no na chese ntokwa ne oha impo bra ye to aba ne endu no na so Ghana ha say ye womra bebre impo ye mra pon no eye the 1992 constitution no kurampo no ye heard the people law 1992 PNDC law 284 and after so vigilantism and related offences act ɛyɛ 2019 Act 999 na ne nyinaa na yade a nkɛbɔ yɛn pɛ ɛbɛboa sɛ eduru sɛ abato a ebetumi ate na asomdwe kwan sɛ nkɔfa ntɔkwa anase wɔyɛ ne bia ɛmfa mmerɛ tim amufoɔ nanso no yɛhu ne sɛ yɛ mpempin no ntɔkwa na efi sɛ yɛhyɛ abato ase abibia no na kyerɛ sɛ watimi waka ntɔkwa no afimpinu ɛne kyerɛ sɛ wɔtwe num ne mpo no Natenga North B polling station Boko Central Constitution no ɛwɔ Upper East Mantam hɔ no ɛyade a ntɔkwa anase basabasa ɛkɔɔtɔ san so ana mpo Agyeiwaa so yanso ɛbra Agyeiwaa so West Ogun by election nso ɛwɔ afimpinu ɛne du wɔtwem ne so saa na nsɛm wenum etumi ɛkɔ so hɔ no ɛno no ɛmboa mpo na nsinyɛ mu yɛhwɛ banda NPP ni tuotutu ɛkɔ so ne ade ɛyɛ owura yi mevisa wɔ kumsi kyɛ sɛ nneɛma bebree wɔ hɔ a esisi ya anko yɛ akrataa yi aba bepie wɔn mo kyerɛ sɛ yɛnhwɛ na ɛbra yɛkɔ akɔtɔ aba esi yɛnhwɛ a wehu nyinaa nsɛm anka eduru December bosom ne da ɛtɔ so nso na si yɛto aba na yɛnhwɛ yɛ a yɛnte asɛmpa mpo yɛto aba ne wie kura mpo na yɛka se yɛkan a ɛno nso kora yɛnhwɛ yɛ a deɛ ɛbɛba ɛmo nti yɛnhwɛ na ɛba ne sɛ amanyɔsɛm a na ɛbere bia yɛyɛ no do or die no ɛkɔba a ɛka yɛ nyinaa nti ɛno nsɛm no yɛnhwɛ na yɛnyɛ bibi ɛmfa ho.
Yeah, to us the global outlook and so our page 9. Police hands for man in Birmingham stabbings. A knife man who killed one man and wounded 7 other people in a 2-hour stabbing rampage across Birmingham city center is being hunted by police. The first stabbing was in Constitution Hill at 00330 BST, and the killer moved south, apparently attacking at random, officers said. The stabbing did not appear terrorism-related, gang-related, or connected to Misorder West Midlands Police said. The force urged anyone with CCTV or mobile footage to contact officers. Police said they were hunting a single suspect. 1 man died, another man and a woman suffered critical injuries, while 5 others received injuries which were not thought to be life-threatening. Chief Superintendent Steve Graham said the attacker went on to stab people in Livery Street, Irving Street, and finally in Hurst Street, where the city's gay village meets the Chinese Quarter about 2:20 BST. Mr. Graham said officers, some armed, remained across the city center to reassure people.
Ensem na ipio ha se ne ninth man no ahande awo no wɔtwe nkrante ma obi eto anananom won se no ho nsem na abai na die police for epe no akire na eno no wo mo ehwe ne papa ise ne oye no wohwe mo eba ne se awudi nsem a wadi bie papa ama nipa ensunumpo epirepra ya na chese eni enyan pa ne no na o ma pe ne bebia wo mu nyana so wo mu gusua ehwe ne senti no wo mu show bia se eba ne se CCTV anase mobile footage bia obia ewo eba ne se wo bibisa na se wanya ne tie efa ho a na wabɔ mmɔden ayi police fo asutire se ne ebeye na wo mu hwehwɛ mu ni ade ne nyina betumi akoso ede amom kama na boa ama bibia etumi akoso yewe efi the BBC.
Now it was also our page 13 of the daily graphic. Now our page 13, over 60% vulnerable and Greater Accra Region homeless survey. Data collected by the Ghana National Household Registry has indicated that over 60% of vulnerable and poor persons in the Greater Accra Region are homeless. The survey indicated that the homeless, together with their children, numbered 50,266. Majority of the vulnerable individuals slept in kiosks, markets, uncompleted structures, and on the streets. Other sleeping points are bars and lorry stations, shop bars, drinking spots, and beaches, with a very few of them sleeping in compound houses, mostly in overcrowded rooms. The national coordinator of the GNHR, Dr. Prosper Larry, said at a data dissemination conference in Accra that the individuals were exposed to natural hazards. The GNHR is a unit under the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection mandated to create a single national household register of the poor and vulnerable to ensure effective targeting of beneficiaries of social protection interventions. The registry, which collected about 80,000 poor and vulnerable persons in the Greater Accra region during the peak of the coronavirus outbreak, stated that 62% of the vulnerable individuals were female, with about 50% of them aged between 18 and 39 years, while 20% were between the ages of 40 and 59 years, 10% age 60 and above, and the remaining 20% under 18 years.
So I ensem so the worker tanifa etosu dumiensa and we gender. They must say over 60% vulnerable for in Greater Accra region homeless and Savannah Chester will be PM our income. No man has said, yeah, a pan say, a one na. Watch a woman puno, BIA would do when see better cramp, ya, na papaye or how na. You hear hanchemu, a woman or hanchemu, a do siana chester more than 60%. It's a who are whom tea, papa, no, it's a say, share, na yen, agree if me call who, and no, and I just say, I say, I get a mofra. And me, any Amerima ye, dear one Sam, Eddie and send you to your woman, say, one more bomb more than the answer. Abibiano, yes, it's a woman ye, Eddie Bubian, one day ever woman, and not so much in some of him, woman data, almost one idea, not just about 80,000, and I just a woman, one more extra one away. Nkrepumpuni mante masea enye adeketo akwa ni tutum ene covid-19 embrem covid-19 ba ye no ebebre na ena wom ho efa wom ne ye hye nse emma afemu dia nchira se emma no nkwampo no wo ha nchemu aduosia mienu ena mema no eye oha nchemu chese aduonum a ye hwe wona wo mu fie no dia nchese fie du wotwe ekọ mfie donkro no wo me ye ohanche mu aduonu sanso ena mfie aduanan edikosi mfie aduonum enkro no ntem no de wo me ye oha enche mu edu sanso ena oha enche mu mienu na aka no eye wo ma omuwo mfie du wotwe edekọ no jese we wo ma wo mgu emontene so no wo mo edos papa no ene server chesa so ya ehwe emufra Emma any emerma ye de ho nsem no e de bepiem e wakate ne fa etoso dumiensa.
Now on page 13, while lactating mother jailed for harming stepdaughter. A 21-year-old lactating mother and a seamstress apprentice who harmed her stepdaughter at Nyankoban in the Awin municipality has been sentenced to 6 months imprisonment by the Enchi District Magistrate Court. The court, in addition, ordered Mary Aka, alias Aso, to pay a fine of 1,200 Ghana cedis or a default serve 6 months in prison. She was convicted on her own plea of guilty. Detective Inspector Joseph Kodie, prosecuting the case, told the court presided over by Mr. Eric Bamboating that Hannah Mensah, the complainant, resides at Agyeiwaa, where Kwame Agyeiwaa, a witness, is one of the parents of the victim, who is 8 years old and a primary 2 pupil. He said the victim lived in the same room with her father, siblings, and a convict at Nyankoman. The prosecution said at about 10 a.m. on May 26, 2020, Mary invited the victim to run some errand for her while she was playing with her friends in the neighborhood, but the victim did not respond to the call. He said later in the day, the victim went home to have her supper, and Mary, upon seeing her, got upset and decided to lash her with a cane, but in the process, the cane hit the victim's left eye, which became reddish and swollen. Inspector Jare said Mary kept medical attention. He said the complainant thereafter made a report at the Enchi police station, where a medical report form was issued to her on behalf of the victim for the medical examination, and later Mary was apprehended. Inspector Jare said a medical report from the hospital indicated that the victim was totally blind in the left eye. He said the convict confessed to the act in her caution statement, and after investigation, she was charged with the offense.
The crata ne fa etoso dumiensa na e na yebusu gina. Ama won se sa ade we ye ka ho nsem na no. Na me no ka nsem na won se enye ne yam ba o, but uwie ye no. What sound the ade no e de ape.
Mane moso.
Enti ye enniema bi se ya na efie na ode kwa akọ twiri mu ne kura de bi esu ade ma me
6 months.
Me
when say ebia wa wona o ma ne ba no fonti ne e ma ne san. Me na ade anka 6 months no be di.
Efi se onwu dem po dia wo ba ni bio se wo ba ni bi but yet your mind can him ha say na say oye obi ayakayaka this year info no wo ye kurempo ayaka say enye wo ba ene dia wakra na abosome nkron achem na wo ne kura eya na eho ahomti awofo no eya ye hwe bi yie na uye obi die yi a won so die together eyeyi
na yet page 16. Nana Kunedu leads MDP to December polls. The National Democratic Party has acclaimed its founder, Nana Kunedu Agyeiwaa Rawlings, as the party's flag bearer for the December 7, 2020 elections, with a call for the paradigm shifts from the politicization of national development policies. The NDP founder, who made that call shortly after her popular acclamation as flag bearer at the party's National Delegates Conference, said the habit of politicizing national development policies for partisan interest must stop because it was counterproductive and inimical to sustainable development. A former First Lady said the time had come for political parties to refocus their lenses on long-term development visions instead of short-term party visions if the country was to develop. The founder of the 31st December Women's Movement made a call after a delegation by the Electoral Commission that she was chosen by the party to be its presidential candidate for the December 7 election. The Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Siribo Kweku, supervised the acclamation at the conference held in Accra last Saturday. He was joined by the Deputy Director of Electoral Services, Mr. Michael Bwedu, who lifted the hands of the former First Lady to announce her candidature, while the party delegates drawn from across the country cheered in approval.
Yentwa ensem ne fi okrata ne fa etosudusia daily graphic da obokrata ne munsem a na yikusu de ensom wo no Nana Kunedu wo no ne ban se NDP amanyoko na the National Democratic Party na wo no ne de yapa won se Frankatuni wo no aso na sa amanyoko wo ye ne kofa bai a omo pe anim se December busumi ne da etoso enso ewa afimpinu ene adunu no no so ebegyina ne senti no wo mu yi ne kire ye ene afensu mpanifo a wo mu ka ho nyina.
Now yet was also page 18. Mahama ends tour of Upper West. The flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, has expressed satisfaction with the unity and solidarity prevailing among the executives and sympathizers of the party in the Upper West region. He therefore said with such unity and solidarity, it was evident that the NDC will regain all the 5 parliamentary seats they lost to the New Patriotic Party in the last election. Addressing a campaign thereby to round up his 4-day tour of the region at Lara last Saturday, former President Mahama attributed their shocking defeat and abysmal loss to this unity. During the 2016 general election, the dominating NDC party lost 5 constituencies out of the 11 in the region, namely Laura, Nandom, Sisala East and West, and Wa East seats to the MPP. Mr. Mahama thus promised to resource the various constituencies with the necessary equipment and logistics to ensure the smooth campaign, and also introduce the various parliamentary candidates and ask the electorate to vote massively for them.
Yentwa ensem ne so okrata ne fa etosudu ba kono Frankatuni edema NDC amanyoko no John Dramani Mahama bra wo no wokọ aprobo wo Upper West Mantam no na de wodi ni nyina abawie ye de wokọ ni ehwese ni mfoni ni ade video CD ahim de manifesto ye meto montre so na emu nsem bi epiepie bobo ba ntrese ahoke ahoke kan de pint ya no nsem su pie okrata ni fa etosudu watch no.
Now, and also, I didn't someone a see what daily graphic meaning now. Air court in the way, and you may put boy a chidom to see a global sky security. Someone is always watching in our faces. GH schools near ready a PM so our Ghanaian Times. Near the announce so at Tuamo Pepe. Near shall say our Ghanaian Times, near shall say page 3 of the Ghanaian Times. Now, page 3 fake national security operative grabbed. Personnel of the Revenue Asset and Border Protection Unit of the Office of the President on Friday arrested Prince Kafui Wosori, a man with no fixed address suspected to be a fake national security operative in Sogakope in the Volta region. The suspect allegedly posted as a representative of the president for several months and succeeded in taking huge sums of money from unsuspecting members of the public with false job offers. Wasori was also said to have stopped vehicles and carried out searches on them on highways in various parts of the country and demanded money from the occupant. Mr. Robert Tetefio Ajase, leader of the unit, disclosed these to the Ghanaian Times in Sogakupe at the weekend. He said that the suspect was nabbed with assistance from the Sogakupe police when he turned up at the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ghana Immigration Service barriers in the town to introduce himself as an appointee of the president assigned to deal with customs and immigration officers at their duty post. According to Mr. Ajasi, the suspect ferociously resisted arrest, injured one policeman, and left the officer bleeding profusely before he was finally handcuffed.
Yentwa ensem so Ghanaian Times the Bokrata ne fa etoso miensa no ban say ye bonbon nsem no ya na che say unhu se nia isifate nsem a epie e wo kratem de nche say wono no onye national security na so wode no aka national security fo no ho a no enam so ema wo mo akire na wo mu gusu a eye emu enhwehwemu ne ba ne say impo no bo omo title obi na che say watintim ni soldier tade so ubehwe mu kurampo no na wonye soldier ni ubehwes na enidini ne number bibia ebon wawe ama ne photo na no so omo de dada akra nyame nkwa ne niye mo pa say sankrofo nyine betumi e de oma fam na kwas ama wahie bi pen
bi me twen se me hie bi
sa me kura me twen se
me hie bi an obete obetinsem
sawo
aji mentia
be sansem yito
na yet also our page 3 where man arrested for possessing weapons illegally. The Tamale police have arrested a 38-year-old Al-Hassan Imrani, alleged armed robber in possession of weapons, quantity of ammunition, and other items. They include an AK-47 assault rifle, 3 pistols, 4 mobile phones, 1 black HP laptop, 1 G3 empty magazine, 6 registered vehicle number plates, 45 live ammunition, 165 and auto 389 live ammunitions. The Northern Regional Police Crime Officer Superintendent Abanga Baba, who disclosed these to the Ghanaian Times, said that Tama police were also pursuing the suspect in connection with another robbery. According to Superintendent Baba, the police retrieved the white Toyota Highlander GW 324120 from the house of the suspect at his residence at Bamvim, a suburb of Tamale. The crime officer said the vehicle was allegedly to have been snatched from its owner at gunpoint in Tama, adding that the suspect was currently in the Tamale police cells helping in investigations.
Yentwa ensem so the answer ama Ghanaian Times me come eti we no wono wo mo atre no e ba ne se e na meka no wo beji atade wo bekura tuo tese wo be obekura akade bebra ba ne se bambon se ma ye de eyen so behemu no na enkrata mpa ye di edi dwuma san krata bu nkrab na we AK-47 papa pa ne ho niam tese odidi dwuma eno no emo akore nam so mo machire no.
Yes, what's what page 4? The editorial what page 4. So saying no to psycho canker. Psycho is a term referring to the practice of trawlers coming close to the shore to catch small fish like sardine and herrings in addition to the big fish like the tuna they are licensed to catch and subsequently transferring the small fish to local canoes. A study conducted a few years back on psycho fishing put a value on the cost of destructive fishing practice, which is being driven largely by Chinese trawlers and is devastating Ghana's overexploited fisheries. In an investigation by the London-based Environmental Justice Foundation, has confirmed earlier estimates that in 2017, cycle fishing took 100,000 metric tons of fish. A new data enabled by EJF to calculate that the catches were worth 41 to 45 million US dollars in sea, with much of the money flowing straight into the lands of mostly Chinese fishing companies and out of Ghana, the report claims. Once landed, the fish were sold $53 to $81 million, a profit of $12 to $30 million from the local collaborators. This activity on the high seas has gained ground and a source of concern for local fishers along the country's coast. The invasion of our territorial waters by foreign vessels is worrying, and the sooner action is taken to stop them, the better it would be for the country and its fishing industry. Psycho is bad. It is a fishing activity that is depleting the fish stock in our territorial waters west of all the catching of juvenile fish and must be stopped now.
Yɛnto so okwa kata ne fa etoso enan de nche sese yakohu nsensem ya cycle hu nsem ya no mbi bepiem wo kata yi mu eba ne se ye kwakoyi nam aha wo nse bibia ni no enhyehyɛ ɛwɔ na ama mimpo mikuro mo hu ensu a ɛda hɔ no ye mu nam o
Se mikuro so ne pra
adwen a egu mu no enya adwen ketewa na akwai se tourist attraction kofo ba e de wunya buruduro bi tum omu nchi fisu eburo tum de abetum de omu aba se ebere bia ye jai ma yensum na edu bresi ye yi emfa kwati kwanso nkonko ni ade a emiji se ebeboa ama yankasa nkasa no na nam so ye kokra fi ama no fish eno so ye nkran fam na ada ama yento
right will be where I am now yeah, page 12 of the Ghanaian Times. Agyeiwaa deal to go ahead. Finance Minister. The Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta, says government will go ahead with the Agyeiwaa royalties transaction despite calls for border consultations with various stakeholders for consensus. According to him, the agreement provided government with the opportunity to use innovative ways to manage and maximize the country's mineral wealth and will do that in the best interest of all Ghanaians. Mr. Oforiatta, who was responding to a question on whether government would suspend the transaction and conclude with a consultation before going ahead on a program, said on Saturday and monitored by the Ghanaian Times, said the government would go ahead with the transaction while the consultations continued. He noted that the period was ripe for the transaction and it was important that advantage was taken for the prevailing gold prices, which was at its all-time highest. The minister explained that the novel model of the deal, which has caused an uproar among the minority, is a tactic that has been adopted by the West, adding that it is critical that Ghana gets ahead of the queue in adopting similar approaches to maximize the country's wealth potential.
Kata ne fa etosu dimienu no no Agyeiwaa do royalty yade a ebekoso na kyerese aboa se ne beye na yesika sem tutu eni ade na ebetumi akoso kama ede amaye ama.
Now, page 14 of the Ghanaian Times. Bagre Dam's village, 6 die, hundreds rendered homeless, and farms submerged. 6 persons died, with several communities submerged in floods in the northeast region following the spillage of the Bagre Dam in neighboring Burkina Faso. The situation, which has rendered hundreds homeless and several acres of farms destroyed, has been compounded by torrential rainfalls over the past few weeks. The Northeast Regional Director of National Disaster and Management Organization, NADMO, Alhassan John Kweku, said many of the communities could not be reached as many of the roads leading to their communities had been washed away. He cited Mamprugu Mongduguru as one of the most affected communities. Mr. Tanko Adam, a resident of Yagba in Mamprugu, in a telephone interview with the Ghanaian Times, stated that the whole district was totally cut off from the rest of the region. He lamented that nobody could get in or out of the district as the roads were inundated. Information reaching the Ghanaian Times from Bunkrugu and its surrounding communities yesterday indicated houses had been collapsing due to the increasing rains there. Mr. James Kumbiam, another resident in a telephone chat, stated that residents of the area were having sleepless nights for fear that their building might collapse on them.
Na chesi be krate ne fa etosu dunnan no bagida spillage we nan me ndan kwaye ka honsem won krate no a wo hwa yade haha dwie papa ama amanfo bi no mpo enya ba bi a chese wo sabi wom de wo muti beto kodempo akwakoye nsem bebre de amaye.
Na wo no so ne de nsem so a epiem wo Ghanaian Times ni na akwakogu ye behwe ne epiem so e daily guide wo krate ne ye hyase wo daily guide and ye hyase page 3 of the Daily Guide. Mahama defends Achim Sakawa insult. Former President John Dramani Mahama does not appear to see anything wrong with the comment he made against the Achim ethnic grouping, which may have condemned unreservedly. He sparked uproar last week when he described the people of Achim, the ethnic group of certain President Akufo-Addo, as Sakawa boys, a term largely used to refer to people who engage in internet fraud, dubious or criminal activities. Mr. Mahama has shared on his Facebook an unprovoked blistering attack on the persons of President Akufo-Addo and his Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia by Isaac Adongo, National Democratic Congress Member of Parliament for Bolgatanga Central, on the Ojapa royalties debate. Isaac Adongo had called those working on the Ojapa deal as Achim Mafia, and Mr. Mahama amplified the NDC's MP's virtuous comments on his Facebook page by adding Achim Sakawa boys. President Akufo-Addo last Friday made his feelings known about Mr. Mahama's behavior when he met the leadership of the Catholic Bishops' Conference to discuss national issues. However, Mr. Mahama appeared unpretended when he justified his actions during a television interview, even saying the president did not have any moral right to complain and turn around to accuse the president of whipping up ethnic sentiments. In one breath, the former president said some gurus in the NDC are from Achim and could not dispatch them, but in another, he said the president had lost his right to complain. Abba, Achim Mafia. Achim Sakawa boys.
So youth and politics who the course over NPP, NDC, NPP, NDC. And the about say defend ubia it me defend no. Ghana man pende dan say fanka to me edema NDC amanjofo what the same to jakora wachirem say Ghana man penny na nadan Akufo-Addo so I make a statement aka for na same way say obia de nchire mu ba Achim Sakawa boys Achim ni no so ejama mi aka sakura mi Achim ni bi so UAE aha papa e be ni dama
Now yet was any world news our page 5 na answer na ye behwe the editorial so our page 4 another mischievous agenda. Those who stood against the compilation of the new voters registration posted many threats, all of them crude in their bid to terminate the project. The high point of the threat was one spewed by the NDC's allied Bernard Mona, who said the registration centers would be scenes of bloodshed. He was expectedly invited by the police to write a statement about the threat. The NDC supported him morally because he is one of them and therefore spoke the mind of the party. Logically, the NDC should be blamed for the new instances of violence recorded during the exercise, its intention of having more instances of security breaches not coming to fruition as planned. It is unimaginable that the General Secretary of the opposition party would want labeled to reset the recent registration exercise as, in his words, the most violent in the country's history. Seeking public sympathy for the desperate political party should not take the form of mendacious remarks. It is worse in terms of morality when these originate from the General Secretary of the leading yet mischievous opposition party in the country. The NDC scribe, it would be recalled, vowed that the voters' registration exercise would not come off, even as one of his party personalities said should it come off, he was ready to be castrated. He is yet to show up for the surgical procedure, perhaps by a veterinarian surgeon. Instances of violence which were recorded during the recent voters' registration exercise emanated from the NDC, which resented the compilation, preferring the status quo. This is simple logic, and for us, it is unacceptable the NDC scribes' efforts at pushing the blame for the dark side of the exercise to the doorstep of the MPP. Soon after the exercise, the country began recording drops in COVID-19 cases. The NDC and its assigns waited to write the negative matters arising from the exercise, but it got too contrary to their expectations. We pointed it in our previous commentary that Ghana's two challenges are NDC and COVID-19, but whereas the latter is treatable as being evident in a steady decline in activities, the former is chronic.
Daily guide workers and if I etoso and nine daily guide or semufo aha was semufo na dwenkyere eno no na nase na dwempo boy eba ne se abato anase new voters registration a course no chirim se amafo bebre na na esority ya impo NDC amanyukuo no kra esority and chichu ne se nhihye anase niema akade a yehwe e de akwa kotro yedin no eno e na sisi osemfo e kire na dwafo no kire se e koba ne se ntokwa ne ade na wenum nyina bi e ka ho ne de e si etumi hwe se na vigilante groups ni ade nyina e si ye gugu na ma vigilante ya si etubi
Omo keka.
ohune se
Ewo ho. Oni baby akọ.
Ha adwen ye papa e se ye hwe Agyeiwaa so by election wo hu ama mani ebese mani gani ana ama
Nsi ye gbotu e.
na ahomte se wo hu nti enema bi se ye ekos wo mu ma ya ye nhwe na chese pepepe ya na sento kwani ade no ye to ebe igwe nso a ye nyina Ghana mu he ya na ye tie
Na ye page news. Senegal activates emergency flood aid plan after downpour. Senegalese President Macky Sall has activated an emergency aid plan after 7-hour downpour caused widespread floods. Water Ministry Surgeon Mbeye TM told national television that more rain fell on a single day on Saturday than the country would usually see during 3 months of the rainy season. At least one person was reportedly missing due to the floods in the central region of Kaolack. According to forecasts by Senegal's meteorological agency, more thunderstorms and rains were expected on Sunday across most of the country. Heavy rains have been recorded in the Sahel regions of West and Central Africa in the past week, including Niger, Nigeria, Chad, and Cameroon, leading to devastating floods that have killed dozens and displaced thousands of people.
yeah kata ni fa etosu enum kopiem e wo Senegal kire se nyanga na ha nkwa na nsuo eyi ni sra na ede wo ha wana se amane ebre wo mo nso yade a ehom ye papa pa nte se nanu memenda ni po nsuo a eyi ni tire wo honom kakra na ede ase mebre na ekoba ye na nsuo ye ba beto sa aboso memiensa enyade be wo nti wo mo so wo mo bo modin ade nhyehyɛ ne ade egu akwem se ne beye na wo mbetumi akwati amampani maki wo no na edi wo mani.
Now, it was also our page 6. Kolebu gets new CEO. The Director of National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burns Unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Opokuwari Ampoma, has been appointed the new Chief Executive Officer of the Teaching Hospital. This was revealed in a letter signed by Nana Bedietu Asante, Secretary to the President and addressed to the Ministry of Health. The Presidency further directed the Ministry of Health the Minister of Health, Kukwaji Mangmenu, to take the necessary steps to regularize the said appointment in accordance with the relevant provisions of the Ghana Health Service and the Teaching Hospitals Act 1996, Act 525. Dr. Ampoma takes over from Dr. Daniel Asare, whose tenure of office ended on September 3. The board of the Teaching Hospital asked Dr. Ali Samba, the Director of Medical Affairs, to act as CEO of the hospital until a substantive appointment is made. Dr. Opokuwari Ampoma is a consultant plastic surgeon. Although he has a wide scope of practice, his interests are burns, trauma, microsurgery, and cosmetic surgery.
Tanefa etosu ensia de a ekopiem ewo Kolebu a enkane no bete kwalebu ama ka kwalebu
There be
wanka kwalebu
men can be
o ye sure se onka kwalebu da
Kolebu
kabie maniti
Kolebu
nti Kolebu yade a wo mo so wo mapa wo mo Chief Executive Officer CEO foforo kra wo ba video mo na wo mo wo mo shisha na se wo dwumede nyina e wapomuden akache onom na etumi akoso tote na Dr. Opokuwari Ampoma ene lady wo mo apa no na wo ba ebegyina mu ana so ba ebegyina mu de ma Dr. Daniel Asare wo no na enkane no na wo ye CEO de ma Kolebu ayaresabia no nanso ni nyina abawie ye September bosome no ne da etoso ne
na eno so ene den nsem nso a epiem wo daily guide ni na so ekwo na wieye na enimeko so boy ya chidom ye global sky security. Someone is always watching and our faces in the GH schools medine ama Akosomo ni mini aba Agyeiwaa Kodie ene the newspaper review segment no ebrewo aba
ama ene wo hwe comments no ebi ebaye na nabna amponsa wo hweye o like afi nso no kumi omonyina no efiji H schools aso atubi atokwa amena hweye ato yeda asesa wo hweye aha sanso na Clement hweye Marina maame ya Agyeiwaa wo mu nyina Eric Agyeiwaa mu nyina yedamase afin so obi a onya abre na ohwe yen aseda enko emfa emma no make a comment me pe me ntini sorry to we Efi Marina was say watching you live from Eastern region you both are looking gorgeous and more fire. Kwame Boache say I'm watching you live from Tema. Good work. MATV, God bless you, Abba and Amma. May the good Lord bless you. Yet I was sa bibia Moshe ha ene yedi besi yakramo wia yedi prem so breka se ebebrem sanso ena enwe yedi kase en ebeto aso asande amamo yakra.